It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the San Jose State head gymnastic coach, Joanne Bowers. How are you doing today?
Good. It's Bowers. It's okay. It's Joanne Bowers, but that's okay.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching college gymnastics?
Oh, goodness. This is my 26-year coaching college gymnastics. So you're asking me to go back a little bit, but I was one of 5 children that was an Army brat. We moved every year, and my mom used to always find the best school district to find a house. And then the next thing she'd do is find a gymnastics club for me, because from the time I was very, very young, I knew that was my passion. And probably about junior high, high school, I started teaching a lot of the classes to help with my lessons and different things too. And I absolutely loved it. And then in college, my coach used to pay us on weekends to coach and teach young beginning gymnasts and stuff. And I loved it. I kind of always knew that's what I wanted to do.
What was it like going to James Madison and getting to be on the gymnastics program?
Oh my gosh. Back when I went, we were Division I programs. They've since dropped it down to a club program, which I'm really sad about. But we were a Division I program and competed all over the East Coast. And my coach at the time, Hayes Kruger, he's since passed, he was the men's and women's coach. And we overlapped with the men's team a couple times a week. And we were all really close, both the men and the women's team, and our coaches treated us really well. The athletic directors at the time were all women, and it was right when my senior year was when Title IX was really big in '82. But we were already being treated very well and traveling just like the men in hotel rooms and eating and stuff. So I don't think I had a bad experience at all. I had a wonderful experience, and I truly loved it. And that's what I always want my teams to remember is I hope they leave college feeling like they had a great, fun experience and had success.
What was some of your biggest accomplishments at James Madison, and what was that like putting on that purple jersey?
Oh, goodness. I was one of the team captains my senior year. We went to regionals. I want to say I placed on bars at regionals my senior year, which was really good. I was an all-around gymnast because back when I started college, 4 of your 6 people that you put on each event had to be all-arounders. So my coach needed me to be an all-arounder for the first 4 years. And I was not a very good beam worker. So my senior year, when I didn't have to compete beam and I just did the other 3, I was much happier. I was also married. My husband, John Bowers, was the quarterback when I got there, and he stayed on and he was a graduate assistant for the football team for the 2 years. And then my senior year, he was driving 60 miles each way to Washington and Lee University, his first real coaching opportunity. So we got married right before my senior year. And after that, I followed him a few different times to a few different places. And that's why I got some different opportunities coaching at Illinois State, Kent State, Michigan, then Washington for 10 years. And then I came here. He ended up following me to the West Coast in 2006, but I had followed him 8 times. But I had a lot of different opportunities with the moves.
What was that like getting your first head coaching job at Illinois State?
You know, I was 25 years old. I was coaching at a club that was owned by the gymnastics coach at Illinois State, and she wanted to go back to Colorado and get her law degree, and they were looking for somebody. And at the time, my husband was the defensive coordinator at Illinois State, and they were looking for somebody. It didn't pay much. It was a 9-month position. It was so much fun because I had no stress and didn't know what a great job it was. You know what I mean? It was like we just wanted to get in there and coach and have some fun. built up the pits that they have now there, which I've since done at a couple other schools too, which is interesting. But it was a great first experience for me, and I loved every minute of it.
What was that like building up the Illinois State's program and then going on to Kent State?
Well, Kent State, I thought I was actually getting out of college coaching because my husband took a job at Bowling Green with Urban Meyer and we were moving there. So I was leaving that position, and the head coach, who's still the head coach and national champion last year, Bev Plocky at Michigan, asked me, she said, "Are you just following your husband, or are you trying to get out of gymnastics?" I said, "No, I'm just following him." She goes, "Well, we have an assistant position open and I'd be interested." Well, we ended up buying a house in between, and I drove an hour north and he drove a half hour south for 5 years. That's when I was an assistant at Michigan, and loved that opportunity too, and learned so much. But I tell you, the 4 years I was at Kent State, Bryce Biggin, he's still the head coach there and still one of my absolute best friends. He's a wonderful man, great coach. And he taught me a lot and gave me a lot of responsibility with recruiting and some different things when I still had a young child at the time and a high schooler. So by the time I got to Michigan, I felt like I had learned a lot. And Bev then just took me to another level. And, her expectations for everything are really high. And I like that because it kind of made me step up my game. I did all the director of ops stuff, coach floor, helped with beam, helped with all, things like that. But by the time the opportunity came up for University of Washington, I felt like I was really ready. I could do it. I knew how to build a good program.
What was it like going from Kent State as the assistant coach to going to Michigan Wolverines in the Big Ten?
The difference was it was easier for recruits to call me back and coaches to call me, but it was harder in the sense that we were going after the best gymnast in the country, but so was the best top team. So it was still as hard. Like some people think, oh, it must have been so much easier to recruit. And I was like, no, they'll call you back then, but everybody's after them. So, and we got a brand new facility that a man named Don Shepard had donated. And it was this beautiful, gorgeous Taj Mahal practice facility at Michigan, my second year there. And that was kind of like, wow, this is what, one of the top programs in the country needs to train and do well and stuff. And just being part of that and working with Scott Sherman and Bev Plocky for those 4 years was just, or 5 years was just great.
What was it like getting to work at the biggest stage of them all in the Big Ten?
At the time, Bev was fighting diligently for us because at the time, the Big Ten conference wasn't real strong in gymnastics, okay? It was before they added a couple other programs, and it was before some of the other programs had stepped up. Now, right now, there are some great teams in the Big Ten doing very, very well. But at the time, we were the top dog easily, and our real competition was more in the SEC and Pac-12. So at the time, Bev was fighting to get us, better raises and more and stuff like that. And they kept saying, but you guys are the top in the Big Ten. And she goes, but the Big Ten's not real strong in gymnastics right now. We're the only ones. Since then, in the last 15 years, the Big Ten has become very strong and has a lot of great programs. So I'm sure it's a lot more fun competing in that realm. But when I was there, we really were kind of the top dog.
What was it like going from being the assistant coach at Michigan to going back to become the head coach at Washington?
Right. Well, there were a lot of differences. I had been a head coach when I was 25 to 29, but like I said, it was a different level. I didn't really know what I was doing. Now I knew what it took, and it was a program that they had high expectations for us. We needed to get pits in our gym. We needed to get back to regionals. We needed to build the program back up. There were so many expectations, but I kind of had learned from Bryce and then from Bev, how to do that. I couldn't have come from Illinois State to Washington, I don't think, and been prepared. I know I wouldn't have been, but I think I had learned from so many good people and been in so many situations of kind of okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to try to go after really good level 10 gymnasts that love gymnastics, that love to compete, and are good people. After you start doing that, then the culture of the team gets really strong because they care about each other. They love to compete. They want to get better. They want to do the right things. And after a few years, you really start having some success. And we built it. And the staff, it's easier to get good staff at the better institutions you're at because they want to come there. So like Elise Ray, David McCreary, Stephen Buckner, my last year, I mean, they were just wonderful assistants who really, it's like I didn't do anything by myself. Everybody helps you along the way. And it's a whole family that helps you, including, you know, like the athletic directors, the trainers, everybody's so involved with all that. So, and you need everybody on board and everybody helping. If you have one slacker, it's going to hurt your whole program.
Of course, how did your head coaching job help you into where you are with Washington?
I do feel like right now, coming here to San Jose State after taking a couple years, my youngest son was going to Cal to be a quarterback. My husband had moved back to the Midwest to coach, and with Urban Meyer at Ohio State first, then James Madison, our alma mater. We didn't live together our last 3 years that I was at Washington, and then the kids are gone, and you're kind of like, I love my job and I love it here, but I really, really, really need to go back. So I went back, and the deal was I'd fly to all the Cal games that whole year, which I did, which was amazing, and it was so much fun. And then John ended up winning a national title at James Madison in football, and we kind of looked at each other and went, well, both of our sons are in California. What if we can get jobs in California? What if we head that way? And that's exactly how I got back here. So, and Marie Tuitt, who was our SWA at Washington when I was hired, and who I reported to, she was the head athletic director here at San Jose when this job opened, and she knew I was in the area and got, you know, it was kind of like a perfect storm. I said, well, if you help us get pits and you help us build this program back like what we did at Washington, I trust you. I think you trust me. It seemed like a good thing to do.
Of course, during your time at Washington, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
Oh, goodness. Oh, there were so many. You know, the first year having the exact same team, we weren't able to recruit anybody. We got hired late, having the exact same team going from 45th in the country to 35th or 30th in the country. And we went to regionals as a team. That felt really good. Like everybody bought in, they wanted to do what we were asking. That was fun. Then having the first few years, having individuals actually even go on to nationals, because we always made regionals then. That was like the bottom of the bar. Like, of course we're making regionals, but now we want individuals to start going to nationals. And the more you start doing that and the team keeps elevating. After the year I left, Elise Ray was my assistant coach that we knew we had the best leadership coming back. We knew we finally had depth, and we knew the team was going to qualify for nationals. And that's exactly what they did. And I don't want to take credit for that at all. I'll get a little bit with the recruiting and the leadership of getting that senior class ready. But really, what she did that first year, after I left to get them to nationals mentally was so awesome. And that's Elise for you. She's just amazing. So I don't know. I think there was so many different things that I was proud of along the way. Getting the alumni to come back and be involved in everything, getting our attendance up. We started a 10-0 club that we had at Michigan, and I kind of brought that same idea to Washington, and just getting the attendance back up. There's so many things you want to work on as you're trying to build your team. And I think we did that over the 10 years, and it's in a good place right now. And we're actually going to Washington this weekend for a meet. And it's the first time I'll be back there coaching against University of Washington in that arena, and it's going to be surreal.
What was that like, obviously building the Washington program up to a national level before you left?
Truthfully, like I said, we didn't get our team to nationals until the year after I left. So I never got to experience that other than the phone calls and all the hoopla from a lot of the donors, alums, kids on the team that I had recruited, Elise herself, that would call and share in that with me. But they actually went the first time as a team the year I left.
Was it like obviously coming to San Jose State to become the women's gymnastics coach?
It's been a great opportunity in so many ways because when I left Washington, I didn't know if I'd get another opportunity to be a head coach again. And I loved my job. And when I was living in Virginia, I got a couple phone calls for places to come. Hey, would you be interested in interviewing for this job here? It was not places I wanted to live. And I felt like it was my husband's turn, kind of like, okay, you followed me out there. I need, some things that way. So I just never even looked into it. Once I was here in California and this job opened and Marie and I started talking, it just seemed like, okay, this is a program that has had a lot of success in the past. They had been a little down and needed a kind of like sometimes when a new coach or new thing comes in, it gives you like a fresh sense of, okay, let's start again. But you have to get everybody believing in it. You've got to get people in that trust your vision and want to do and want to help. And I think the two assistant coaches that I got right off, James Williams, who's still with me, and Jeffrey Langenstein, who just went to University of Washington last summer, they helped so much change our culture. And I don't want to say the people that were here were bad. There's nothing like that. It's just they helped us build what we were trying to build and people that wanted to do what we wanted and really see the same vision. And so that's been exciting. Now, it's been much harder in the sense of the finances aren't as good, obviously, as the Pac-12. There's so many different things that make it harder. But I think what I relish is I can look back on my time at Illinois State and Kent State. We did a lot of the same things we're doing here in terms of things we have to do because we don't have a huge staff to help us. But I had done that before, so I wasn't surprised. And I knew if it was important and we needed to do it, someone on our staff had to do it, even if it was me. You know what I mean? So we've just been putting our head down and going to work and trying to build this thing up like we know it should be built up, and we have the capability of doing that. And I think we're showing people right now that we're doing it.
Have you taken all of the stops along your way to help you to where you are now as the head coach?
Most definitely. I think I always even tell our team this, you learn most from your mistakes. You do. Like I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, but if you're willing to admit, hey, I could have done it better. I could have handled it better. I should have done this. I wish I would have been proactive in this. I wish I would have gotten better people. It's like, there's so many things that you learn along the way. And I think if you're willing to learn from your mistakes and see and always be evaluating, like I'm always evaluating, how can we do everything better? Even if it's going well. The worst thing someone can say to me is, no, we're not going to do that. We don't do it that way. We've always done it this way. Like, and I've heard that at every stop, okay, from somebody. Usually, as soon as I hear that, I turn around and find somebody that's willing to have an open mind and will help us. Because if I hear that, I know they're stuck in a rut and they're okay and happy with where they're at. And that's just not me.
What does a typical gymnastics meet look like for the San Jose State?
Okay, do you mean home or away, or does it matter? Just what does it look like?
Just typically, what would it look like?
Okay, depending on how many teams are there, okay, a dual meet means it's just us and one other team. Tri is 3 teams, quad is 4 teams. You don't usually ever have more than 4 in because there's only 4 events and you rotate around until you get to like conference championship next weekend. There's 5 teams, so there will be a bye and one team sits out and you go around. If you're the home team, you get Olympic order, which is vault, bars, beam, and floor. If you're the away team and there's only 2 teams, when they start on vault, you start on bars, then you switch. Then you start on floor, they start on beam, and then you switch. So it depends on if you're home and away, and it kind of depends on how many teams there are. But back in my day, years ago, it was quiet as a mouse. That was just kind of how gymnastics went. Nowadays, it is a show. I mean, it's a performance. And the crowd gets into it, the team's going nuts. I mean, it's so energetic and live, and it's so much fun. People that come to a gymnastics meet now always say to me, like our bus driver came into Air Force Friday night, and he said, I haven't been to a gymnastics meet in so many years. He said, everybody was cheering and so loud. It was so much fun. And I said, when's the last time you were in one? Well, it was back when I was in college. I said, oh, wasn't that horrendous when you had to be so quiet? And he said, oh yeah, it was hard. It was terrible. You just had to be so quiet. So it's different. And the top programs right now with attendance, like Utah, Florida, Auburn, some of them, like they're getting 15,000 people to come. And we are a sport. If you look at the Olympics, you look at women's gymnastics, people love to watch it. And if we put on a good show and we have a good product to show, we're going to keep getting more and more fans. And that's what I'm trying to build here too, because I feel like we've got to show the fans that it's so much fun and it's great gymnastics. So that's what we're working on here.
What are some of the game day traditions and routines that y'all have implemented?
We always come in an hour before warm-ups start and they do visualization around the arena. They go to the events they're competing on and they visualize doing that routine perfect, and they see where the judge is sitting and what's the best angles for them to start their floor routine here, which angle is the best to mount and dismount on beam. And you kind of just start getting your head right. And then we have a big donor, Stan and Marilyn Gadway, that he always does a team poem and sends it to us. And we talk about the team poem, and he's just been great that way. And then the team has some of their own traditions in terms of, like we've got a couple superstitious ones that some things are starting and some things that way. And I think I realized after the meet on Friday night, they're starting a tradition of some song they're all singing on the bus from the venue back to the hotel, and they said, yeah, it's our new tradition. And I'm like, okay, I love starting new traditions. Let's just keep doing it.
Who are some teams that you typically face?
Well, our conference, we're in the MPSF conference. So I want to say UC Davis, Sac State, Air Force, Alaska, SPU, Seattle Pacific used to be in it, but they dropped a year ago. So they're in our conference, so we see them a lot. Within driving distance of us, Stanford and Cal are real close. So sometimes we'll do bus trips back and forth, or they'll come to us. And then like this year we flew to Denver. This year we flew to Oregon State and saw them, Boise and Washington. And then we're flying to UW this weekend, Washington. So I'll try to do about 3 flying meets to different places just to get us around, around the country and seeing different. I want them always to see like different types of gymnastics, not just in the Bay Area. Like what's out there? How are they scoring? How are they working? What are they doing? I think that's good for us to grow.
What's that like, obviously getting to play teams like Cal Poly, but then also getting to play teams that are not in your conference?
Well, Cal Poly doesn't have gymnastics, so I'm not sure what your question. Do you mean how is it when we play UC Davis versus like a Stanford?
Yeah.
Or, okay. The people in our conference versus some that are in bigger conferences, okay? I really do think sometimes you raise to the level, lots of times you compete to the level that you're competing. So you want to do well. And I do think the better teams we can go against helps our team improve. So I'm not worried about, let's just schedule people that we can get wins, because our win-loss record doesn't matter at all. Now we want to win, don't get me wrong, but our rankings all have to do with our scoring. So let's say we go against the number one team in the country and we get our best score ever, but we lose. That really helps us. If I go against one of the worst teams in the country and win and get a really bad score, that doesn't help us at all. So it's important for us to go against better programs, raise our level, let our team see what levels we're trying to get to, and trying to get the bigger scores.
Of course, what does the recruitment process look like for those prospective gymnastics?
Recruiting has been really crazy, and it's been really crazy, obviously, the last couple of years because of the pandemic. We had a dead period for over a year and all this. So, but in our sport, a lot of times they send us videos, emails, tell us they're interested. We get in touch with coaches and club teams that we're interested in that we've seen at different events, and then you try to start matching those up, like who's interested in us that we're also interested in. And then, like, perfect example, this weekend we're going to UW. The meet's on Friday night. I'm staying an extra day because there's a big meet on Saturday night in that area I'm recruiting a couple kids from. James is leaving Saturday morning to fly to Phoenix. There's 2 sessions in Phoenix that day that he's looking at some recruits that we're talking to and we've already had in and things like that. So they're in season at the same time we're in season. So it makes it tough trying to go see them, try and bring them in on visits. But we have a recruit coming in this Wednesday just for the day because she doesn't have a meet this weekend, and it worked for our schedule, both schedules. But it's just, you do what you can do. You do what you can do.
What is it like, obviously, seeing those recruits when you're in the gyms with them?
Well, truthfully, when I get videos, which we normally get videos first, or we see them at a big invitational or something like that, and you see how good a gymnast they are, right? But I always say that's one piece of the puzzle. And unless one of us goes in and watches them train, we miss a whole bunch, because one of the things that I really want to see is I want to see how are they with their teammates when they're waiting their turn, when their teammates struggling. What happens if they struggle on a turn? Do they look at their coach and really try to get that correction and then try to make sure they're doing something different the next turn, or are they just mad? So do they control their emotions? Do they try to keep getting better? There's so many things that we see in a practice that we can't see at all at a meet, or they're hiding it, or on a video. If they send you a routine, did it take 20 times to get that routine? Or did you do it over and over and over again every turn, and that's just how good you are? All that stuff you see in practice. So that's super important for us to see a practice.
What does the official visit look like for prospective gymnastics looking to come to San Jose?
We think it's most important for them to watch a practice of ours. Like, we don't bring recruits in for meets because they can watch that online, and for the exact same reason. I think they need to come in and see a practice, and they need to see how we run a practice, how we coach, how we talk to them, how they talk to us. They need to meet with an academic advisor. They get a campus tour. We make sure they have time to spend time alone with some girls on the team and can ask them any questions they want and get to know them. And our team gets to know them. Then spend some time with us so we get to know them and stuff too. So all of that stuff is very important on an official visit.
What are some of your future plans with the San Jose State's gymnastics program?
Well, right now, as of today, we are sitting at 29th in the country, and the top 36 go on to regionals. We haven't been to regionals as a team since 2014 is what I read yesterday. Okay. So we'd like to obviously get to regionals, and we're the number 1 seed right now in the MPSF conference, and we're 7-0 in the conference. Going into our conference championship meet next weekend, we'll be the number 1 seed going in. So right now we're sitting at a good place, but when you're asking me about what we still want to see, we have got to stay on recruiting and make sure that the culture of our team stays good in terms of the type of people we're getting. And I'm hoping to be able to retain my staff, because the better we do, everybody's trying to steal them, right? So I would love to retain my staff. Neil Gallant, he's been an assistant coach at Stanford for the past 6 years and a high-level club coach in this area for many, many years. I've known him for a lot of years. He's my new assistant this year, and you'd never know he was new to us. It's like he's been here forever. And so with him and James, and I have a wonderful trainer named Now, it's like we love what we've got going, but we got to keep it going. So we're trying not to get big-headed, but we're doing better. And we're trying not to, if there's a mistake, we keep telling the team, let's don't panic. Let's just stay our course and keep doing what we're doing and keep trying to have fun while we're doing it, because when they're having fun, they relax and they do what their body knows how to do. So we would like to obviously keep building this program and move up in the rankings. Get to regionals every year, start getting a couple kids to nationals, get the team to nationals. I mean, you're always looking to improve. So that would be, I guess, an end goal. It just takes a while to do that.
What advice would you give those prospective student athletes that are in high school looking to become college gymnastics?
Whenever a recruit calls me and asks me that question, I always say they really need to try to figure out what they want and what will make them happy and successful, because there's so many different types of programs. We have Division III, we have Division II, we have Division I. We have so many different styles of coaching. And then think about different colleges. You could go to a little town in the country, you could go to a big city school, you could go, where do you see yourself? Because some people like to get out of their comfort zone because they think that's going to help them grow and do something different. Some people really want to be comfortable and stay in an environment that they feel comfortable in. But then I always tell them, visit as many places as you can and try to see practices. Try to spend time with the teams when the coaches aren't there. See where you think you fit in the best and where you think you're going to be the happiest. And do they have the major that you're wanting to do for the rest of your life? Because this is a 4-year deal, right? So you're really trying to prepare yourself for your life. But I try to get them to look inside themselves and do a lot of studying before trying to make decisions, because they kind of have to know what they think is going to make them happy and how they'll be successful before. And sometimes they do need to go on those visits before they start realizing what they want, because sometimes they don't know what they want.
What advice would you give future college gymnastics people looking to go on to the Olympic level or the professional level?
Well, we don't have professional gymnastics, okay? Other than like the Simone Biles after Olympics and stuff, if they do a show that they go around and just do a show or something. And most Olympians do that before they come to college. Like you look at collegiate gymnastics right now, there's a freshman on Auburn's team, Sanusi Lee, that won the all around this past year when Simone had to sit out. And she's taking that program to a new level. There's a freshman at Oregon State. Those programs for the new NIL program where they can accept money for their name, image, and likeness and accept a college scholarship. Whereas up until now, all the Olympians had to choose. They either had to sign contracts and do things for the money and not do college gymnastics, or do college gymnastics and not accept any money or deals. They had to choose. This year is the first time that you're seeing Olympian in women's college gymnastics that can do both, which is wonderful. It's wonderful for them. But most gymnasts will not graduate college and then go to the Olympics. Their bodies, they're too old, some different things. We're lucky when we get some Olympians that can now come in as freshmen and help us.
What advice would you give future college coaches looking to get into the sport of women's gymnastics?
Make sure you've done your research in terms of, some people just look at college gymnastics and think, oh, it's so much more fun. It is a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work and a lot of hours. And if someone is looking at not spending a lot of hours, like just going in the gym and practicing stuff like that, they should not be a college gymnastics coach, because we have to do a lot of things other than practice. And you have to be really detail oriented to take care of a lot of different things. And I would suggest always making sure that you work for someone that you truly respect and you agree with a lot. Now, you're not going to agree on everything, but that you agree on the philosophy and a lot of ways of doing things, because the worst thing you want to do is work for someone and then not feel like you're getting to do what you want to do. And that happens sometimes in every business, not just college coaching. And I would suggest try to always be honest with recruits, be honest with your assistants, because you can cut corners and you can maybe do something that's not real ethical to get ahead. but it'll come back to bite you, especially if you want to stay in this business for a long time. I think your reputation should mean something. So I always say you may lose out sometimes by being honest, but you know what? It's the right thing to do. And that's what I've always said that to young coaches that are trying to get in. Try not to cut those corners real early that you think you need to do to be successful.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the San Jose State's gymnastics program at?
We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Yes.
Thank you again, Coach Joanne Bowser, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the San Jose State.
Thank you. This is Joanne Bowers from San Jose State Gymnastics. Thank you, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.